All right, welcome back. This is going to be part 76 of my presentation on the flood and Noah's Ark. And we are going to continue on with the mammoths. And this is going to be in the block of the Ice Age, And so I've got a good bit of information, guys, about these mammoths. And there is some questions about them. Were they built for the cold or were they not built for the cold? And so it seems to be a debate, even amongst creationists. Again, it's a interesting topic. There's some mysteries surrounding it. And so we're going to look at what they've found out. And you guys can make your own judgment whether you believe that these animals were built for the cold or were they not built for the cold. But if you'll notice on the screen here, it says that the woolly mammoth was covered with three types of hair. The outer guard hairs that were coarse and just over 3 feet long. Then the second layer was an underfur that was thinner and about 10 to 12 inches long. And then the third type of hair was below the underfur, and it was a thick layer of wool that was around 1 to 3 inches long. Now, going on, the mammoths lacked erector muscles that would fluff up an animal's fur to create an insulating air pockets. Like if you would, have you guys ever seen birds outside in the real cold weather? Have you ever noticed them? They kind of fluff themselves up. They'll kind of shimmy, they'll kind of fluff their feathers up, and it balls them up. It makes them real thick and like a ball. That's what they're doing. They're creating air pockets, an insulating air pocket to help keep them warm is what they're doing. So in the same way here is what I'm thinking here, that there would be, the mammoths would have some type of way of maybe shimmying or maybe vibrating or shaking their muscles up, or that would fluff their fur up, to kind of fluff it up and to make it to where there's insulating air pockets. And so that was one thing that they seemed to find. Mammoths and elephants have similar skin thickness and structure. Both lacked oil glands. And so now you see that parentheses with mammoth with a question mark. If you'll drop down to the note that I have there at the bottom, it says that Michael Ord states in his book, Frozen in Time, pages 157 and 158, disagreeing due to a Russian scientist having shown that woolly mammoths did possess oil glands to waterproof its wool. And so there's the reference for what he found there. And so again, just showing you that there seems to be a possibility of a questioning on that one air there about the mammoths lacking oil glands. But anyway, it says if they did lack the oil glands, it would make them more vulnerable to cold, damp climates. It appears that all Arctic mammals have both oil glands and erector muscles. Both are absent in the mammoths, at least with the oil glands. Again, there could be a question with the oil glands, but if they did lack that, erector muscles and oil glands, then that's quite a strike against them being built for the cold. Now, going on, the long hair on a mammoth's legs hung to its toes. Walking in the snow would have ended up with snow and ice caked on its hairy ankles. Each step in and out of the snow would have pulled or worn away the ankle hair. All animals living in the Arctic have fur, not hair, on their legs. And so what they're talking about here is these, if you'll notice on this mammoth here, the long hair would have hung all the way down to the bottom of their feet, and then walking in the snow, it would have frozen and caked on, and it would have made it hard for these animals to walk any substantial distances like that. It would have rubbed up against their ankles, of creating sores and all types of problems. And so that's what they're saying. And so going on, fur, especially oily fur, holds a thick layer of stagnant air, an insulator between the snow and skin. Mammoth hair was greaseless hair, which would allow much more snow to touch the skin. With snow melting and later refreezing, serious harm would come to the animal. And just like I showed you on their legs there. And so, the debate for coal, you got some that says yes, some that says no already. And again, there's a question about the hair there being greaseless or oily, and but they have three types of fur or hair. And then versus, they also found out that what you can see just by looking at the mammoths, that they have small ears, tiny little ears, and that would be something that would be good for the mammoths because it would keep their ears from freezing. And they had a flap of skin over the anus. And so now this is just a little extra. This is some little extra tidbits about elephants. And then I got two things here, several things that we're going to look at, and then we'll end the video, and then we'll come back and continue on with the question or the debate, were they built for the cold? So this right here, I just thought was just fascinating about elephants as in general. So I'm just going to throw it in as just a little rabbit trail that I think you guys would find interesting. The foot phone. An elephant can communicate by sound in several ways. Rumblings require the use of the trunk in addition to the throat and larynx. The trumpeting sounds, as well as the infrasound below our hearing, do not involve the trunk. Elephants emit a low-frequency rumble that do not involve the trunk, that can reach ears 6 miles away, guys, 6 miles away. But that rumble travels even farther through the ground, and distant elephants hear it with their feet. By perking up their feet, elephants can hear rumblings and stomp warnings from herds nearly 20 miles away. That's amazing. But they can hear some sounds even farther away. On the sun-drenched African plain, the sound of rain is music to elephants' feet. Herds 100 miles away can hear a storm and start moving toward the downpour of precious water. That is absolutely just amazing, guys, how they're able to do that. Now let's look at the trunk. Secrets hiding in the trunk. Scientists have finally solved a long-standing mystery, how the elephant's trunk can delicately handle tiny objects. Kelly, an African elephant at Zoo Atlanta, was tested while she ate 4 different sizes of food. By measuring the downward force of her trunk and filming its minute maneuvers, this Jiang Wu of Georgia Institute of Technology cracked their secret. It all comes down to the cushion joints. Elephants can create a kink, essentially, an artificial joint at any point along their trunks, which averages 6 feet in length and lifts 660 to 880 pounds. The part above the kink supports the trunk's weight, and the part below the kink picks up the object. The shorter the portion of the trunk below the kink, the less downward force the elephant applies. Adjusting the placement of this artificial joint allows for any level of gentleness needed. And so, going on, here's something else. An elephant's trunk has no bones. It is just muscles and compartments filled with incompressible liquid. Like the arms of octopus and squid, it is called a muscular hydrostat. The trunk is versatile, controlled by about 40,000 motor neurons and many sensory ones. The top side of the trunk can stretch 15% farther than the underside. The trunk can pick up single leaves, picking up small objects, be used as a snorkel when underwater, can suck in water 3 liters, or that's 3/4 of a gallon per second, before squirting it out for drinking, bathing, and caress other elephants. To create more trunk space, elephants will dilate their nostrils to hold up to 9 liters. That's a little over 2 gallons of water. German biologists made a 3D image of a baby elephant trunk with micro CT scanning. They discovered the trunk's muscles are contained in about 90,000 tiny bundles called vesicles. Around 8,000 are in the tip alone. The finger has vesicles with a microscopic average volume of only 0.01, I'm going to say that's micrometers or millimeters, and then there's that, which is that size there, an inch. So those of you that knows a lot about scales and stuff like that, and measurements, would appreciate that more than me, but it looks like it's pretty darn small. And so secular researchers give credit to evolution, but call the trunk a one-of-a-kind and suggest it could inspire soft robotic designs. And so, and lastly, I'm going to share this one with you. Precision with force. A zoo park in wherever that place is in France, I'm not even going to try it. 5 female African savanna elephants were trained to pinch 2 parallel sensors installed on a device just within reach. By using the fingers at the end of their trunk, each time they pinched the sensors harder than the previous time, apples rolled out for the partaking elephant to enjoy. Once they could not improve their record and started getting frustrated, the apples were then released at a lesser squeeze. This ensured the elephants would happily return to the next round of experimentation. The elephant's ability to pinch the sensors placed a few centimeters apart indicated that not only were they precise in their touch, they also could squeeze their fingers forcefully. The average force a human can exert between index finger and thumb is 49 newtons for women and 68 newtons for men. The African savanna elephant's trunk fingers were able to pinch 86 newtons at least. The scientists stated in their introduction that they would discuss their results with regard to bio-inspiration. And what that means is they're copying designs in the living world. They like robotics and stuff like that. A lot of times they'll look at things in the world and then they'll copy something like that. And so they've actually created things like, I think Velcro was created by looking at, I think, something in a plant. If I remember correctly, there was something in a plant that they mimicked to create Velcro. But at any rate, and from an evolutionary perspective, studies like this will help in the developing of soft robotic grippers. Okay, we'll stop right there. And so, guys, I just had to throw in that little extra information on your plate. And so when we come back, we're going to continue on with the topic of the mammoths. Were they built for the cold? And so, but a lot of interesting things. And so little neat things that you find out about God's creation and just how well designed it was. And so, but at any rate, you guys take care. I love you. Y'all have a great day. Bye-bye.